4:04 PM. I'd like to call this Personnel and Human Services Committee meeting to order. Roll call.
Ryder. Durancer.
Here.
Krieger.
Yes.
Begic.
Here.
Kuna.
Here.
Lutz.
Here.
Herrick.
Here.
Warren present.
Thank you. Minutes, 9/18/18. What's your pleasure?
Support.
Moved and supported, approved the minutes as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public input. Anyone out in the audience want to make any comments? Now's your time, or forever hold your peace. Petitions and Communications. Item number A, from the Drain Commissioner. Drain maintenance position, seeking approval transition of seasonal full-time drain maintenance position.
Support.
Motion and support. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item B, Nursing Services Manager, renewal of agreement with Sarah Hendrickson. What's your pleasure?
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item C, from the Personnel Director, Vacancies, authorization to fill Department on Aging, bulk delivery driver. From the Health Department, Receptionist, Typist, Clerk 3, part-time. Animal Control, Custodian, Kennel Attendant, part-time. What's your pleasure?
So moved. Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Office of Assigned Counsel, motion to receive would be in order.
Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Recreation and planning items for Pinconning Park. Kristen.
You're up.
Okay, we are going to talk about Pinconning Park today. And you saw this slide in the last presentation I gave, but I think recreation is important to our community, and as a reminder, it increases the quality of life for our residents. It's an economic value to our community. Think of all the people coming into Pinconning Park. They're getting gas at the gas stations, they're shopping at the grocery stores, they're going to Northwoods. We know everyone who goes to Pinconning pretty much goes to Northwoods, right? It provides wellness, social importance, creates a place for life lessons, allows our people to explore the great outdoors. Recreation promotes businesses to relocate, families to stay, and retention of younger generations. And studies show that quality parks and recreation are one of the top 3 reasons that businesses cite in relocation decisions. Okay, so we're going to talk about Pinconning Park today, and a lot of the pictures that you're going to see in this presentation were taken by our senior park ranger and resident photographer, Dan Tomzak, who's sitting here with me today. And fall pictures and fall in Pinconning Park is one of my favorite times. As you can see how beautiful this picture is, and if anyone's out to do a fall color tour this year, Pinconning Park is the place to be. Okay, so just so you guys can get a quick view, I had Nick chop up a piece of the aerial footage that we did of Pinconning Park a couple years ago, and it's just a quick clip here so you guys can see. This is the drive into Pinconning Park and the beach front here, the gazebo. The boat launch is there on your left, and of course the kayak rental. So, okay, so what do we do at Pinconning Park? We rent 62 campsites year-round. We rent them daily, weekly, or seasonally. We rent 6 cabins on a daily or weekly basis. We sell day passes, boat launch passes. We have wood and ice sails, and we have maintenance responsibilities. One of the things that we do really well and we wanted to highlight here is we our staff, Dan and his staff, really excel in customer service. When someone comes through the door, they do a one-on-one park promotion at the point of entry, and our staff is really enthusiastic about the amenities we have at the park, and we advocate for the Pinconning area. I think this is what creates return campers. A lot of our campers tell us our park is different, and we think our exceptional customer service is really the reason. And we also strive for cleanliness. Bathroom cleanliness, shower cleanliness is huge for campgrounds, right? And our guys and gals take that very seriously. So they do a great job. Do you have a question?
Yeah.
Sure.
Because we're on that slide.
Sure.
How many seasonal camp sites do you have?
We have a number of seasonal campers, whether they're 1 month, 3 month, 5 months. We have one year-round camper that kind of acts as our campground host in a way. Could you say how many?
Ratio, probably 2/3 are seasonal, and 1/3 are transient, we call them the weekend warriors. And then with some of the seasonals, 3 months when they leave, then those campsites in August and September and October are taken by the transient campers, so it kind of fluctuates. Whenever a seasonal leaves, I try to fill that spot, so we've tried to constantly maintain full campground, which is kind of hard to do in the off-season, but through the prime months. About 2/3 are seasonal, and most of them are walleye fishermen.
Okay. Make sure we're having
You have a good
the
mix?
maximum mix so that we don't turn them weekend warriors.
And that's why we're constantly looking for new areas to add more campsites. So,
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so who are we? I introduced here our senior park ranger, Dan Tomzak, and we also have senior seasonal park rangers, Mike Gearhart, Ethan Day, Jose Estrada, Nicole Gearhauser, and Carter Rogers. And here pictured is a grant-funded viewing scope to see the Saginaw Bay. So camping, we have 62 campsites. 6 of those were created in 2016 near the ranger station, and they were ready, I would say, about July for campers. Most of our sites have electrical and water hookup, and 9 have concrete pads that are ADA accessible. Our 6 cabins on site have 4 bunks, a table, heat, electricity, and are also ADA accessible. It includes sidewalks, camp pads, and ADA accessible fire rings. Pinconning Park has trails and observation towers. We have the Don Felski Trail, the Ed Donnelly Boardwalk, the Michael K. Gray Boardwalk. We have 2 observation towers. The one pictured here on the top is the new one at the point overlooking the bay. We also have one in the park overlooking the lagoon. Observation deck at the Pinconning River, and a floating fishing dock. All right, so one of the big draws to Pinconning Park, obviously, is our Saginaw Bay access. It is our greatest resource. We have a beautiful sandy beach, and it's very clean. It's protected by the point, so we don't have a lot of waves, which makes it perfect for swimming, for young kids, for families. We have people coming into the park to go boating, use the boat launch, fishing, relaxing, kayaking, and just generally enjoying the outdoors, the beach, the Michigan summers. The picnic tables that you see here some of them were a grant award from the Community Foundation. Kayaking at Pinconning Park. We have a contract with Bob of Cattail Kayak Rentals. You probably know him as Kayak Bob. He provides kayaking services, and we get a 5% rental fee returned to the park based on our contract. The key is that everyone who comes into kayak also has to pay the parking pass, the $3 parking pass fee. And Bob is really a great advocate for our park. It's a wonderful collaboration. He spends a lot of time maintaining our beach, picking up goose droppings, just making sure it's a clean, welcoming place for our families, and it really is a service without staff resources. We have the day use and the rentals, the gazebo that's pictured here. We have a lot of weddings, meetings, and family gatherings there. We have a pavilion, mainly used for barbecues, birthday parties, things of that nature, 2 playgrounds, and then of course the day use that we just talked about for the bay access. People come to Pinconning Park for wildlife activities, bird watching. We have a lot of bird species, migrating waterfowl, fishing, perches, really hot right now, right Dan? Yeah, so everyone's there for the perch. People can get in their boats and access the bay for duck hunting, and that's a popular use of the park as well. We are open all year round, and Pinconning Park is busy in the winter as well. Obviously not as busy as the summer, but we have folks coming in to access the ice. People go snowmobiling, ice fishing. We have the fishermen that rent our cabins for weeks at a time in order to, be there to go fishing. RVs come in. We do plow 4 spots out in the winter because every once in a while we get a few tent campers and they brave the weather. So they like it. I can't imagine how cold it must be, but we are very blessed to have volunteers at Pinconning Park, and I think it's nice to note we have some wonderful Eagle Scouts that have done some projects. We have the library project that you see pictured there. We have an Eagle Scout who redid the canoe. It's an old canoe from Pinconning Park, and it's a beautification project. Informational kiosk projects. We had high schoolers come in and paint our changing station. We had some folks come in and stain some of the cabins. We have a Cub Scout tree planting project there in the bottom corner. And every year the Bay County Blizzard hockey team from the Civic Arena comes in and does a fall cleanup as a volunteer project, and that's really helpful as well. So we are very thankful for our volunteers, and we are lucky to get such hardworking kids in our community. One of the cool things we have on our website is a GIS view of the park. So I'm not going to click on this because it'll get everything all wonky, but if you go to our website to the GIS page, you can actually zoom in on the park, get an aerial view of some of the campsites, the trails, and things of that nature. And they worked really hard on this up in environmental affairs, and it's a pretty cool little piece to our website. So talking a little bit about the financials. We obtained Pinconning Park in the early 90s, 90, 91 I think it was. In 2016 was the first year that we made a profit at the park. And here's a 10-year history from Munis, and you can see our revenues really have been up and down, and that's really a great thing because in 2011, 2012, 2014, you'll see some really high revenues, and those were years that we got some very large grants in. We've had grants for cabins, for ADA accessibility, for building the viewing towers, and I think you probably all remember all of that, but that revenue is really, that grant revenue you'll see in these revenue totals. 2016, the first year that we made a profit, was the year that we added those 6 new campsites. They were ready in about July, so we didn't have a full year of those additional campsites. 2017 was very profitable. We also raised our fees in 2017. So you'll see we made a $24,000, almost $25,000 profit that year. And just to be clear for our viewers, when there's a negative sign here in the green, that's our financial system's way to show that there's a profit there. So just a closer view of our financials of the last couple of years. Our registration, use, and admissions is really our camping money that comes into the park. So far this year, as of yesterday, we had $150,846 in that line item. Rents and leases, $3,100. Boat launch fees, $6,700. We had grants of $2,100. That was fire rings and picnic tables and some beach beautification. So we have a total revenue this year, as of yesterday, of $166,000, and our total expenditures of $127,000, which we're sitting currently, as of yesterday, at a $38,000 profit, which is really great. Now, we expect that to dwindle a bit because our revenues slow down a bit in the fall, but we still should be sitting around 25 at least, I expect at the end of the year, a $25,000 profit. One of the things to note is we are budgeted for admissions, use, registrations, use, and admissions of $123,000 a year, and we beat that a couple months ago, probably a month ago, and we're at 150,000. So we really are doing very well in terms of our financials at Pinconning Park. So kind of talking about the numbers, how many people do we see at the park? I think the best way to think about how many people are using our park is looking at our occupancy rate. So obviously our highest is June, July, and August. June at 98%, July at 95%, and August at 86%. August took a little hit this year that wasn't quite normal because our kids went back to school a little bit earlier than usual, and we also had that rain late in August. But I think it's really great. We have great occupancy rate. Our day use passes, when cars come in, they purchase a pass. So far this year, we've sold 2,819 car passes. We can probably average it out to 3 people per car, so that's 8,457 people. Now, if you come into Pinconning Park and you're staying for 3 days, we'd only give you technically 1 pass, but you pay for 3 days, right? So these numbers aren't exactly perfect, but I think they're a good indicator of how many people are coming into the park.
Kristen, just a question.
Sure.
So right now with duck season starting off, these individuals are coming in and probably spending the weekend, maybe in the cabins.
Sure.
So they pay to come in. Do they have to pay extra to launch their boats to get out into?
No, not if they're camping
Okay,
or using the cabins.
okay. So that's part of the package.
That's part of the package.
But if they're coming just for the day,
They'd have to buy the access for the
Yes.
boat
Right.
launch.
And if they're camping or the cabin too, they still pay the day pass for using the park, even if they're camping. But the boat launch is separate, and that's at no cost to them.
Okay, thank you.
Kristen, the last 2 years, we've received revenue for registration and camping and all that, $150,000 to $2,000.
yep.
And you exceeded that budgetarily.
Mhm.
What are you budgeting for 2019?
I think we popped it up a little bit because if I remember correctly, because we wanted to budget a little bit more for temporary help, but it's definitely not at the 150 mark. So we're still kind of a little bit lower, expecting ourselves to exceed the budgeted.
Well, the budget's just an assumption. But if you brought in $150,000 the last 2 years, why wouldn't you budget $150,000 of revenue for 2019?
Remember when we submit our budget, it's like May, right? So we don't have we're not through the summer season yet. We want to make sure that we definitely we could bump that up, but I think we definitely should for the following year, because now that we have a track record of 2 years, but we could go back and look at that and bump it up if
Well, to me, it only makes sense. You got 2 years of $150,000, why would you budget at $120,000? You know, it's just a number.
Sure. And I think that number came back from, because years past, that's really where we were hitting. If you look at 2015 numbers, 2016, it's kind of right in the ballpark of 123. So we can move that up.
So that's what I would.
Yeah, I recommend 150.
Sure.
The improvements are continuing.
Sure.
Kristen? if I
Yes,
could.
sorry.
So I think this is some really good information to share with the public as well for the board. What I'd like us to do is maybe do something similar to our civic arena so that we could get a look at attendance and different things that we offer at the civic arena besides, hockey or open skate
Okay.
or dry floor events, whatever.
Yeah. Kind of like the information you saw in the presentation a couple months ago, sort of
Yes.
bring that into a spreadsheet?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that'd be wonderful. Thank you.
Sure. Go ahead.
You know, we talked about, or mentioned that you were saying, what thoughts are in that direction?
Well, right now we are exploring ideas to put some additions on our current property. Those being a handful of cabins and possibly some campsites, where Laura and I met with the DEQ for a pre-up meeting last week. And so we are working towards getting all the information we need to submit for a permit. And once we get a permit and we know what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do, we can go after some grant funding for additions that, you know, the board would like to see. Right now, we're sort of in the middle of the process, trying to see, you know, what we can do.
Right, so that property we're already on.
Yeah, it's property we own currently.
That we would repurpose,
Yes,
maybe the marginal stuff that we're gonna make more productive.
yes,
Okay.
yes, allow people to have more access, right? Get more people into the park. If we were to come across a piece of property that would be exciting and work for us, we definitely could explore that possibility, but right now we don't have any property acquisition plans.
Okay, because I know a few years ago there was.
Yes,
And
and
so, but
that fell through, and we don't have any indication that that's coming back, so
but maybe some.
maybe someday. Maybe someday.
Just to add to that, Commissioner Lutz, we met with the Health Department and we looked at, because we're gonna, with this expansion, a proposed expansion out there, we're gonna have some campsites a little bit closer to the water. So, and it's on high ground there, and the Health Department was kind enough to come out there and kind of lay out a spot that would be usable that we could do for that. I think, was it 5 or 6 cabins? And
6 cabins, 4 or 6 campsites, yep.
So,
So
but
we're
the main
gonna
thing
work
is,
through
it's
that
in
process.
order to do that, you have to upgrade the bathhouse, and it'll be to the north of the gazebo, and the bathhouse and a septic field and things like that, but Joel out there thought, if there was a spot that would be more than, without removing a whole lot of trees and stuff, so, which was good.
You know, just, I guess,
Completely in the planning stages, and as things come along, I'm sure Kristen's gonna let everybody know.
yeah, absolutely.
It was
And
just mentioned, so I was just asking.
first step is really, you know, getting with the DEQ and the Corps and determining what is appropriate.
You know what?
Commissioner Harry.
I just want, it looks like where we're at right now is we're maximizing everything that's there. And the only way to get more is to get bigger.
Right, 'cause-
Kind of, as you see,
Yes.
that's what it looks like to me.
And really, we have a waiting list for seasonal campers. We have a waiting list for weekend camping in the summer. We are full the weekends in September. You know, we really, depending on the weather in the fall, we're full into the fall. So we definitely have a community need for additions. And if we have the ability to do that, that would be great.
We had approximately 40 people on a waiting list for seasonal sites, 3 to 5 months. And then the transient campsites and cabins, every week we have waiting lists.
Commissioner Coonan?
Are each site metered, electrically?
No.
So they plug in, and how do we know, we have one master meter, or are you able to determine what the usages would be? I
Not
mean, if
individual
I'm in there,
sites.
I'm plugging my heater and,
We, when Rick was village ground supervisor, we had talked about, or the walleye fishermen will sneak little freezers. And then I had talked to about trying to charge a little extra for the freezers and such, but they hide them, it's hard to control that. So we thought, well, why don't we just increase the price, but still make it competitive and a little lower than other campgrounds in the area. And by increasing the price, it took a little bit more of that extra usage, without, electric usage and the heaters in the winter too. So I think it's at a good balance right now.
And we did a pretty decent increase in 17, and we are requesting through the budget process a small increase for 19. So we are, keeping it moving in
And with the profits that we're bringing in now, we've also, through the past 5 years, restained all new plumbing, new heaters in the cabins. So as we're making the profit, we're also upgrading and keeping everything up to date concurrently at the same time, which is really good. It's not that we're making a profit and letting everything else go. It's going right along together, which is good because we always have a brand new park.
Any other questions? Okay, so just to, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
Well, I don't have a
Mr.
question,
Bartlett.
I was just going to make a comment
Sure.
that, and compliment Dan and Kristen for the operation. I know Commissioner Durancheck, and I'm sure the rest of the commission is aware, but whenever I travel around Northern Bay County, the Pinconning Park is a great source of pride for Northern Bay County, and it's a great extension of county government up there, in addition to everything else we do in terms of providing the services. And as you mentioned, brings in a lot of people who spend money in the local community, whether they're Bay County residents or they're outside the county,
Which they
a
are.
considerable number of.
Sure,
yeah. So,
both, yep.
Yep.
Our farthest camper was from Sweden, so.
The number one comment that I get every couple of weeks, I make a visit, walk around, talk to campers and stuff, is just do me a favor, don't advertise so much. They don't want, it's just like an unkept secret. I go, well, we got to have people here in order to make this thing work. So
Yeah.
it's kind of cute.
So just to circle back a little bit, so when we're at, just to take June for an example, at 98% capacity, we're looking at 3 to 4 people per campsite probably on average. That's 200 to 267 overnight campers per day. So just to kind of give you guys a way to think about how many people are in our campground on a nightly basis. That doesn't include our day use folks.
Are we doing anything else to increase revenue, like selling wood? Are we doing anything?
Wood and ice, yep. Wood and ice sales. We don't have any sort of concession stand or pop sales or anything like that, but we do sell wood and ice.
I'll move to
We have
receive.
food and such up there. More manpower to do that, but we try to not keep any food in that at the beach area, just to get the seagulls in. Of course, people bring their own stuff, but it just keeps it clean that way.
All right, and Dan mentioned this a bit, but 2018 capital projects that we completed so far is we have the water towers replaced. Our fall projects are cabin roofs and updating the remainder of the electrical pedestals. As you approved last week, we are going to be looking for a golf cart, a used golf cart with utility box, and this is really to get our employees and their equipment down the boardwalks and the trails to do trail maintenance and a little bit of stone work. We're always on the look for grant, on the search for grant opportunities. I would like to see some more playground equipment there at some point. We could possibly do some tree replanting, an ADA accessible kayak launch, and we're also looking at smaller improvements like a permanent cornhole game, more beautification, things for like the day use area. So I know we've kind of covered a lot, but does anybody have any questions? Any more questions?
I'll move to
We
receive.
had a motion to receive. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much, Kristen. That was great.
Welcome.
Moving on, referrals? None. Unfinished business? None. New business? None. Miscellaneous?
Move to adjourn.
Always in order. You got a second? Support. All those in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're done.